Welcome back, True Seeker. It's Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. 4 years ago today, the top headline was the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, which Donald Trump was very proud of. So, here on the fourth anniversary, the headline is Explosions Near His Grave, Twin Blasts. And 4 years ago, if you watch our video, we were talking about how there were all these parallels to the Twin Towers and what happened to them on September 11th. But now, on the fourth anniversary of his murder, twin explosions killing at least 73. They're saying injuring 170 more. And again, the fourth anniversary. Four, the number of death from the Far East. You might have noticed the other day after the Japan earthquake, hours after it happened, they put out the headline that at least four people were dead. It's like, okay, massive devastation in a very populated area, and the first headline is at least four dead, I'm sure. But over and over, we document this, the significance of four in death. And even if you do a quick Google search, it'll tell you the numbers 4, 14, and 24, and here we are in 2024, are associated with death for Cantonese speaking Chinese people, as the words for these numbers sound like the words for death, must die, and easy to die. And again, Manly P. Hall, the same person who I learned about Gematria from, he has a book on the meanings of the numbers 1 through 10. And with regards to the first four numbers, he explains that 1 represents the individual, 2 represents, the couple, the pairing, 3 represents the first offspring, the ability to reproduce, and then 4 is the next phase of life after you reproduce as a human being. The next thing that eventually happens is you die. So, to the occult, 4 also has this association with death. But notice, the theme is death on the fourth anniversary of his death. And just to read the first couple paragraphs, at least 73 people were killed Wednesday and 170 injured in the Iranian city of Kerman after twin blasts near the burial site of slain military commander Qasem Soleimani in what officials called a terror attack, according to state media. If you read other news sources, they're speculating that they were just gas line explosions. It's like, oh, I'm sure, twin blasts from the gas line explosions while people are out there remembering this man's murder. The first explosion was 700 meters away from Soleimani's grave, and the second, a kilometer or 0.6 miles away on 6.6 miles away as pilgrims visited the site. IRNA added. Soleimani was killed by a U.S. airstrike ordered by former President Donald Trump at Baghdad International Airport 4 years ago, Wednesday. By the way, the fear of 4 is called tetraphobia, if you want to look more into that. But again, it's 2024, right? Iran equals 24. To start 24, Iran front and center, these building war tensions in the region. They're saying Iran's been doing its best to stay uninvolved in the time of Israel's conflict in Gaza with Hamas, which is backed by Iran. But stories like this are just drops in the bucket for a building narrative for a greater war. And we'll see what comes out of this. It'll be a bunch of finger pointing and denials, as it always is. But again, we're watching a narrative unfold by the numbers day in and day out, which is what we've been watching for all of the 21st century since we had the national emergency on 911. And remember, 911 was made the national emergency dialing code in 1968, the same year World Trade Center construction began, the same year 2001 Space Odyssey came out, the same year George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, modeled after the Illuminati, the same year the Quran code was discovered, the same year the lead hijacker on 9/11 was born in Iran. And with regards to 68 that year, today's 68 days before the anniversary of Soleimani's birthday, which is March 11th. Remember, that's the day the tribute and light began after 9/11, where they did the giant purple beams up in the sky that were to remember the World Trade Centers. And as we'll get to in Gematria, twin blasts equals 68, like Donald John Trump, like CIA. But anyhow, at the start of 24, we have this in Iran. And with regards to them reporting at least 73 dead and 170 injured, Again, if you're new here, in Gematria there are 4 base ciphers. 4 base ciphers. They are the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. They're the reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1 back to A is 26. And those 2 orders applying numerology. But with the alphabetic order, sacrifice is 73. And with the reverse alphabetic order, sacrifice is 170. Again, the story is at least 73 dead and 170 injured. Numbers of sacrifice that we talk about redundantly. And if you apply numerology, sacrifice equals 62. Qasem Soleimani equals 62. Kerman, where he's buried, equals 62. So you're hitting 3 out of the 4 values. The only sacrifice value we didn't cover is 46, which it's rare when we don't talk about that one. But again, 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. Genesis, the first of those books, Genesis 46 about sacrifice. The Abrahamic religions are based in Genesis and the Torah. And we'll touch more on that in a moment in light of this being the third, because there are 3 Abrahamic religions. But I have a lot of older posts on Soleimani's death, and just to go through some of the things that we talked about then. Remember, they said they identified Soleimani by the hand that was left from the explosion that had the ring on it. And you might recall we looked at other pictures of Soleimani with his ring. And in this picture, it's hard to tell the one they show because it's smaller, but if you find some other pictures of his ring, it actually looks a little bit different than this. So it's like, is that the same hand and the same ring? I mean, it's similar, but it doesn't look... It's the pattern around the red gemstone that doesn't look the exact same. Anyway, they said they identified him through the ring, and as we talked about back then, ring has Gematria 48 like Donald Trump. And this year, January 3rd, 2024, the date numerology is 48. 1 plus 3 plus 20 plus 24 is 48. So Donald Trump, part of the story again, how it was his call to have him assassinated, but also the ring. And remember, if you're new here, 48 is a special number. You got the 48 laws of power, the word Illuminati's 48, the word Freemasons 48, Israel established in 48, the tensions with Israel right now. So on this 48 date numerology, this happens. And you might recall that after the death of Soleimani, supposedly 56 people were stampeded at his funeral. And Soleimani has the Gematria 56, like Abrahamic, like light, like 3. Like again in the 3rd verse of Genesis, God makes light, like there's 3 Abrahamic religions. Like how 3 planes supposedly hit targets on 9/11, and the 3 flight numbers 11, 77, and 175 added up to 263. The 56th prime, as that day divided the Abrahamic religions like it hadn't been seen since the World Wars. And again, all these stories are all related all throughout history, especially here in the 21st century. But said the blast occurred amid heightened tensions in the region as Israel fights a 3-month war against Hamas in Gaza, prompted by the militant group's October 7th attack on Israel. Again, that was the anniversary of the U.S. invading Afghanistan for 9/11, the day leaving 85 days left in the year, when Templar equals 85, and Bush was the president then from Skull and Bones, modeled after how the Templars bury their dead, and he referred to it as a crusade, to really remind how far all this stuff goes back. That war has left more than 23,000 people dead in Gaza, according to the Hamas-run Ministry of Health in the enclave, and has led to skirmishes beyond Israel and Gaza, often involving Iran-backed militias. By the way, people from there hate when you say Iran, that's how we're used to hearing in the U.S., but it really is Iran. Softer sound. On Tuesday, a senior Hamas leader was killed in the suburb of Beirut. We covered that yesterday. Yesterday was 87 days after the war began on October 7th. Beirut equals 87. That means today is 88 days after the war began. And remember, Trump equals 88 in light of the Trump parallel. It is 88 days after the war began. You could also say it's a total span of 89 days. October 7th through today, January 3rd, is a total span of 89 days or 88 days later. 89 matters because it's the 24th prime number, like Iran equals 24. Religion also equals 89, going with the 89 chapters in the gospel. But on Tuesday, a senior Hamas leader was killed in a suburb of Beirut in a blast that a U.S. official told CNN was carried out by Israel. Israel hasn't confirmed or denied involvement, but Hamas and the militant group Hezbollah, which controls the suburb, blamed Israel and have vowed revenge. And, one death begets another. And again, you learn this code, you just see how all these stories unfold perfectly. And yeah, it instantly tells you it's not a accidental gas line explosion coincidence. And the reporting's no accident either. For the media to always be on point with their perfect Kabbalistic numbers. At least 73. So... And just for another pattern to remember, Soleimani was killed on January 3rd, 2020. That was a date with 44 numerology. Trump, number 45, but the 44th person to be president. Military equals 44. Execution equals 44. Kill equals 44. Goes back to the history of Theodore Herzl in Israel. Theodore Herzl died at age 44. The founder of Zionism, 44 years before Israel became a nation. Israel equals 44, like Zion, like Netanyahu. Again, a military superpower is Israel. Israel and military, 44. Netanyahu giving his speech about how they won't stop bombing Hamas until they have every last hostage back. And now we know that's not going to happen because several of them have been reported dead. But remember, he gave that statement hours before the anniversary of Jimmy Carter's Iranian hostage crisis beginning. A crisis that was with Iran that lasted 444 days. A lot of fours. So, what happens tomorrow on the fourth day? We'll see. Is that Vengeance Day? We'll find out soon enough. But, yeah, I guess the thing that makes tomorrow extra interesting in light of being aware of all of this, 4, 14, and 24, tomorrow does January 4th. Kind of looks like 14, right? And then sure enough, we will have the 14th of January before long, but tomorrow kind of has all that going on, 4, 14, and 24. April 14th, 24. That's always a fateful day in history. What happens this year on April 14th? By the way, just to start marking dates on your calendar that could get real interesting, just like how we knew something big was coming October 7th before it popped off in Israel. Again, if you guys haven't watched our live stream from October 4th, go back and watch it. We were saying why something's coming October 7th. Ended up being the war in Israel. But April 25th, that'll be 201 days after the war in Israel began. And of course, it's been all about 201. Netanyahu's return, his disappearance, all of that nation's existence, 201, the number of the cabal, the Illuminati, and the Jesuits. So, anyhow, if you want to go back and read all the work I did on Qasem Soleimani's death and the aftermath and what was going on with Trump and what happened 56 days later, again, those posts are on my old website, freetofindtruth.blogspot.com. But then I transferred from that website to GematriaEffectNews middle of January 2020. So I have posts about Soleimani on both sites. But yeah, he was a big topic in 2020, and it kind of got washed away once COVID came. But he was the big focus at the start of that year, and from then to now, rumors of war, and it's just been building more and more. So. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And again, for the people who roll their eyes at this information, again, you shouldn't be, because it explains what's going on in the news. And just real quick, it also explains what's going on in the world of rigged sports. Like, shout out to everybody who won big last night on the Hornets upsetting the Kings' 15.5 point underdogs. We explained in yesterday's sports live stream why that had a very good shot at happening. Kings equals 24, the date numerology is 11, plus several other things. And again, it told the story in a lot of these games. So learn the knowledge, see through the news, see through the sports, hit on big underdogs. And the only real downside is you'll have a whole bunch of haters for it. But as they say, if you're not doing anything, you probably don't have any haters. So until next time, True Seeker.